There we go. Several of you that are quite astute have noticed that the recordings are not posted for the last meeting and maybe the last two. I changed computers back in October, and all of my recording stuff and being able to edit and put on, cover images and that kind of thing are on my other computer. So it's on my list to finish up this week so that I can actually make the small little edits that I need to and get the others loaded up. So I promise today's recording will be updated in addition to the last two I believe I owe you. And I just started talking. So I am Jennifer Weston, facilitator of this fine group. We tend to meet monthly on second Tuesdays, even though it conflicts with Janet's schedule. But we do meet second Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And thanks to everyone that is here today and everyone that joins us throughout the year, and a special thanks to the organizing committee. But I am but one person that pulls this all together on a regular basis. So all the names of the organizing committee are listed on the top of our agenda as always. I did send out a link just before we got started, but let me drop this in chat so that you can follow along as well. Normally I get them out a little earlier, but December and getting all the meetings in. So there you go. Today, as I mentioned before we started recording, I do want to talk about ideas for programming for the Evergreen Conference, and then also for next year. The organizing committee has a brief outline of what we're thinking we want to talk about for the first 6 months of next year, but we're going to get together at this point probably in January because December is getting away from us, so that we can really start planning out several months in advance. But it helps us to know what you want to talk about and the kinds of things that are changing in the system too, because we can plan for 6 months out, and how our workflows may change a bit between now and then. So we want to make sure we're revisiting our ideas from time to time. One, I'm going to say fun note. It's fun for me. I've made a change to the format of the agenda because if you scroll, there's just not nearly all of that stuff that's usually there. It did not go away. It's just on another tab because it's a Google Doc. And so there's a link to the separate tab now. This is just a reminder of what we normally cover in our standing agenda. And for anybody that's new to this call today, these are the types of things that we will cover. And our usual calls usually takes about 10 minutes. We kind of run through quick welcome, and if there anything going on in the community of catalogers and Evergreen community at large. We talk about that. And then Catalogers Connect, I'll show you what that is. We talk about the other interest groups and other working groups. Anything going on with those, we allow time for announcements. And then, of course, we've always got links to Launchpad bugs because, well, there are always going to be links to Launchpad bugs. So to see all of this extra stuff, you're probably there already, but there's now another tab called Standing Agenda Items. You can get there through a separate tab. And that way there's not quite as much noise on one agenda when we just want to look at whatever our program is for the month. So if we go to Standing Agenda Items, now everything we normally cover is there, including a repeat of a thanks to the organizing committee. So here's everything we would normally start with. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, though I do want to introduce this for anybody that's new. And there's a link to our wiki, which we try to keep updated, but it's always a work in progress. Links to current release notes. We're up to 3.16.1 with the newest release committee that's working on that. 3.15.7, both of these came out in November. If you are not on 3.15 or 3.16, this is just a note to let you know this links out to release notes if you want to see what's coming in 3.15 or 3.16. All this information is available on the Evergreen website itself, but here in the cataloging interest group, we like to make it easy to find. A note about tabular release notes. I have not updated it since last month. Elizabeth Davis did update it, and she has sent it to me to review. So I am very thankful for her every week when I look at that. So I will be updating that by the end of the week and sharing it. Tabular release notes is just what it sounds. There's a tab for each version. So 3.15 has its own tab, 3.16 for others. We looked at that a little last month. So when I release it, I'll send out a link for that as well. So it just really has what's going on with 3.15 and 3.16. And then links to official documentation, the demo servers. Just as a reminder, there is a community demo server. So if you want to see what's going on with 3.15, there's one there now. You can test that out. And then a thank you to the development team. It's there for 3.16. So I wasn't going to spend a lot of time, so I am going to go through quickly. If there's anything you want to stop and talk about, please just call out. You're welcome to use your microphones at any point. We're a small enough group, and I'll monitor chat. So events, we're going to talk about the conference. It's coming in April. There's a catalogers map. I don't think we've added anybody in the last few months, but if you are new and you look at the map and your name is not on there, please add it to the bottom of the list. If I open this, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to digress too much, but here's the map. that I am going to put on the wiki next year. So here's where we are all located, and the places we can find us being cataloging interest group, which means anybody that's a cataloger in Evergreen or just simply interested in or friendly with people in the cataloging world in Evergreen. And I need to do this because Ava's way over there. We wave at Ava. Hello, Ross. So yes, please let us know if your location is not on the list. It's not your name. We don't get that specific, so a little bit anonymous. But I do like to track where we are, just because it's a nice reminder that we are in a lot of different places on this continent and beyond. So this is my goal to get up on the wiki next year, my New Year's resolution. But if you are not represented, please add your location. Okay, here's where I'm going to pause and say to you that this document, as always, should be shared so that you can edit it. So if any library has updated their version of Evergreen in the last month or beyond what you see listed here, please feel free to update that yourself or shoot me a quick note in chat and I will update it as well. It's good to know kind of where our friends are in all the various different libraries, who's working on 315, who's making a big plunge to 315, like CW Mars did in October. They made a big leap from 3.7 to 315. And then we like to hear how things are going. So let me pause for a moment. Anybody that's preparing to upgrade or did recently, if there's anything you want to say about that or share your experience, just celebrate that you survived it. That'd be good too. I resize my window so I can see more of you over here. There we are. I see a couple of updates going on. Gary, you're upgrading tomorrow. Well, best of luck to you. I am sure you are nothing but prepared, but I'll be interested to see how it goes. Yep, so you're just making a note there. There's Gary. Misty, you just updated over the weekend. Everything's great so far. That's fantastic, Misty. I love to hear that. So you've had a couple of days and it's just smooth sailing. Marvelous. Just kind of scroll through and see some of these others. Anything else that's happening? Pills I know upgraded. Val's on the way. Right, Natalie? Yep, you upgraded in mid-November. Exactly. And I think you are responsible for submitting a lot of bugs and wish list items related to 315 now that Pales is using it. So please look for new bugs that are related to cataloging. Well, not just cataloging, but 315. Kathy, you updated on December 3rd. Mostly went well. Mostly. That's good to hear. It's nice to see at the end of the year how much activity there has been throughout the year. So those of you that have made a big upgrade during this time, I know the screens are starting to look different to you. So I love it when you say it's mostly fine because I love to hear. And then a lot of what we do spend time to is getting down into the details about what's changed and some of our larger wish lists we spent last month doing. So if you weren't here last month, we made quite a list of notes for wish list items. Okay. We'll continue to update that if there's anything we've missed or we need to do so. And we will revisit in January. And then I have not updated this Catalogers Connect. These are all the other interest groups and their links out to the individual interest groups and their particular pages on the either the wiki or the website there. I typically update this with next meetings. I just didn't have time today. I will go back and do that before I post the recording and send this out with the notes. But I do try to track that. Everything's on the community calendar though. So this is just a repeat of what's there. I just like to bring it to mind while we're all have the opportunity to look at them together. Note about authorities working group. We'll be meeting sometime in December and pull one out. Yesterday, I guess, looking for a good date to meet, but we will be meeting this month. Anybody else in any of the interest groups have updates or announcements they want to make? So again, you can just type them on the notes document or put them in chat and I'll copy it over. I know December is kind of a crazy time for interest groups. And a lot of it just don't meet, or if they do, it's just kind of a wrap up like this one. I was interested to see the reports interest group. I don't know if there's anybody here that's planning to attend that one. There's a dashboard idea that's going to be presented tomorrow. I don't think I can make that one, but I really love the idea of a dashboard for the reports interest group. So let's see when they're meeting. They are meeting next tomorrow at 2. Yep, and so they're going to be talking about a dashboard tomorrow in interest group. So I'll just bring that. Again, I don't know if anybody's here from that group. If not, I'm making an announcement for you. There's this dashboard widget designer. You can build your own dashboards. I can't wait to see that. So I will watch that recording. Okay, and then the only other thing that we have on here then are linked to Launchpad bugs. And again, these are just quick links out to specific types of bugs. So if you're looking for things that have tags that are cataloging and they're new, staff catalog plus one cataloging needs discussion. Again, these are just quick little links to keep you from having to do those particular searches yourself. And then we can see, I think last month we celebrated, we're down to 3 staff blockers blockers in the staff catalog. Yeah, we still have 3. Those are the ones that people are continuing blockers before they're interested in upgrading or that they'll need to provide workarounds one way or the other. For blockers, it's really just means you're losing functionality is when something is tagged as a blocker. So I don't think we've had any new ones in quite a while, but these 3 are just kind of lingering. So I will celebrate that. We started the year with 9 or 10, and now we're down to a quick, easy way to get to different types of searches for your Launchpad. And then a note we'll meet again in January, 2nd Tuesday. So the only thing that's different now about the structure is there are 2 different tabs. The one tab has all the stuff we usually spend this first 15 minutes, like I just did, going through a lot of this information about what's going on in the community and anything particular we want to look at within the other interest groups or specific bugs. And I will just scroll slowly back up to the top and, of course, celebrating where we are with upgrades and where we are with releases. So all of that will now live on a second tab. It'll be easy to get through it. So if we come to the current tab, the standing agenda will take you right over to that tab. So before we start talking about ideas for programs, is there anything else that you would like to add to this month's agenda? Anything at all that's going on in your workflows with you since an upgrade or preparing for an upgrade? Anything at all before I just hop in and start asking for your ideas and taking notes while I grab a quick sip of water here. Or Diet Pepsi as it is. And Mary, I think that's a new picture of your cat I haven't seen. Say how beautiful the kitty is today. Okay. Janet, you missed us last month when we were talking about templates, and I think I talked about you specifically about all the work you had done with testing templates, and CW Mars continues to make more and more suggestions and do some work on those. So, yep, last month was templates. This month we're going to stop talking about templates and start talking about other ideas. But last month was a really great conversation. If any of you missed it, I will get the recording up and share that. Just wanted to repeat that. Oh, it's your Maisie. She looks like a Maisie. I just feel like I need to share for the transcript what I'm talking about. That's Mary's cat, Maisie. She's making an appearance in the picture. Okay, so let's talk ideas. I just started a document, which then I can share out to the list, and I will. I have not yet, but to get us started for today. Just to kind of set the stage, I've added some notes here from previous discussions over the last few months, really. We have brought this topic to the group, and we've had a few conversations already. So I made a list of I just pulled over our notes. Let me finish that sentence. I copied over the notes from our previous conversations and started this list with those. And then we'll start adding here at the top for today's discussion. I want to kind of set the stage a little more for the Evergreen conference. I want us to consider a pre-conference this year, but I want to make sure it's a topic that people would really be interested in and coming a day early to an in-person conference. As far as I know, as of now, there's not going to be a streaming version or a hybrid online version of the conference. It really is going to be in person. Doesn't mean the material can't be shared afterwards in the way of sharing the slides and that sort of thing. So just to set that as a precedent for if we want to do a pre-conference, it would be for people that are actually attending in person. So to talk about any ideas you may have for an extended presentation that's related to cataloging efforts. Then, of course, main conference and any ideas you might have for us coming together in person as a group. And I'll continue to ask that one right up until April about what we want to do in a group setting. But then also other things that we might just want to do throughout the year as we start planning for 2026 any kind of our regular meetings, special sessions you'd like to see us put together, any kind of crossover with other interest groups like reports or acquisitions. Okay, here is my very specific request before I just start taking notes about things you'd like to see. One of the things the conference planning committee is doing this year is they want to have a track that's just called introductory sessions. And I believe this information went out in the call for proposals. Sorry, I'm still coughing here. The introductory track is more to introduce people to either to Evergreen if they are brand new, but also introduce people to parts of Evergreen they may not be familiar with yet. They may be, a circulation person, but they're just interested in cataloging. It's more of the low-level introductions to these kinds of things. Without all the technical things that we get into, and we just jump right into jargon sometimes. This is very much for being a well-rounded kind of track of, let's look at across all the different interest groups and all the different modules, and let's provide an introductory track for people that are just getting to know them. Maybe they're new hires, maybe they've just moved for our particular situation, or maybe they just moved into cataloging, maybe they weren't trained as catalogers, or they haven't trained in Koha. I mean, in Evergreen, gosh, I've been doing too much training. Give me. In Evergreen, what can we do, and what would you think would be a good session or a good topic for us to present as an interest group, and to say it's going to be hosted by us to be part of this introductory track, and it's going to be just another whole track that people can attend there. So I wanted to be cataloging specific, but where would we start if we wanted to do something that, if you're not somebody that's been using Evergreen for a while, what do you think would be most helpful to expand, to introduce new people to our group and to what is specific about cataloging in the Evergreen system? I'm asking because we need to submit it this month so that I can get it on the list to be accepted for next. I want to sneak in there to make sure that we're on the list for the introductory session, something for cataloging. So Cat IG intro session. Topic would be, it could be something as simple as just working with the holdings editor. Let's see. Kathy, 2 parts, searching the catalog to find records and adding holdings. Yeah. Searching for ISBN yeah, or the UPC. Absolutely. I'm going to digress and say one of the things, most interesting things I took away from one of my earlier conferences was learning how to search by UPC, because it didn't happen automatically back then. You had to set it up as a search parameter. And I was thrilled when I came. Okay. Searching the catalog to find records, add holdings. So we weren't going to talk about templates, but templates are cool. Using templates. Maybe different ways to search catalog. Yeah, this would be would be one of the 45, 50-minute sessions. So merging duplicates. Ooh, yes. Importing records and record match sets. Oh, absolutely. And I think record match sets can even be something beyond the introductory session too. And record buckets. Oh, we do love all the buckets. But since we have Angular buckets, there's the new Angular bucket functionality. Angular record bucket. Yep, record buckets versus IDIS buckets. And I know last month we talked about, we looked at Angular buckets a little bit because we lost the ability to do that search within them. Not that I'm highlighting that for a session, but yeah, because certainly because they look so different now. New functionality is a good thing. It's different. And this would be more specific than the excellent presentation that's always done on the buckets, book bags, baskets, buckets, and more. Right. think these are great suggestions and probably more than just the introductory session. So I'm just going to, um, Kathy, side comment question. Any idea when map projections will be given their own filter? I don't know. Let's put that on our questions document down here. I'll pull out questions and put them on our notes somewhere else. But just so I can grab that for now. I don't. So Kathy's question there, just so I capture it there. When will map projections, given their own filter, when will map projections be given their own filter filled in search? Is there a bug for this one already, Kathy? Yeah, I don't know either. So we'll check for the bug. Search templates. I'm just going to say these are all great ideas. So let me, even if they're not introductory sessions, come back to that. How the MARC record works, use for format icons, filter by date, where title searches come from. Absolutely. Yep. And I think just the MARC format, since that advanced holding editor allows you to, well, it's not the holdings editor, since the advanced editor for the MARC record allows you to look at things a couple of different ways now too. We can look at the wizards that are there. Yeah, I like that a lot. Format icons, I don't think we've talked about in a while. We covered that a few years ago, but even where the format icons come from, spend time just on where title searches come from. Yep, love all of that. Making sure I got everything out of the chat here. I can always download the chat. I like to get it in. All right, I think I've got everything there. I wonder, yeah, I've called this introductory session here. I mean, I always think when we talk about introductory, how introductory that is. But do we just start with, like you said, just searching records? I love that idea about just being able to do that and just adding, search the catalog, find the records, and then adding holdings. I mean, that really to me is the searching here is, if we're really just talking about, you're brand new to cataloging, how do you make this work? That's where we start. And then these other things, you start laying on the layers. Yeah, I guess that's the phrase, to be able to just grow your skills as well. So yeah, I like this a lot. And then let's take beyond that then. How about ideas for a pre-conference? And then I'm also going to go ahead and say, uh, intermediate. We don't even need to do that. Skill, sharpening the skills. That used to be, anyway, conference, more specific, advanced skills. How about that? Or discussions. And just looking at the note that we had before, some of the notes we had before, we looked at things like, well, there's always the authorities, how to get started, how to create an authority record, working with locals, electronic resources came up in one of our last conversations, just really maintenance of electronic resources. As if anybody's still bringing their Libby records into their catalog or any of that kind of stuff, how we're maintaining those. Mark Edit, we always talk about. We've had a couple of sessions this year about regular expressions, and we started talking about using Mark Edit to remove bad characters. Then we talked quite a bit last time. I'm interested in your following up on this discussion about vendor file workflows. This isn't unique to, well, I guess it doesn't start with Evergreen. It starts with what the source of your vendor records. Is anybody testing out Amazon Business Mark records still? BT Cat was on our list from a few months ago. Now I wonder if it's even a thing with the Baker and Taylor going away. And then we found some other sources. So I wonder if this concept of vendor file you think is appropriate for the conference, or is this something that would be more appropriate for just a monthly conversation in our regular monthly calls? I can see it being very helpful to have this kind of discussion, especially as people are changing the source of their vendor records or moving in and out of OCLC. Mary, you're using Ingram, Brodart, Amazon Business Prime, and Blackstone. You're using a lot of things there you could talk about. Yeah, so I think sharing just resources, that's okay, I'm using the word resources too often, but resources for people that are using these. Because I think Amazon Business Prime is new enough that we could certainly talk about that, about how the quality of those records. There's a little bit of crossover there with acquisitions. We're talking about the vendor records and how you pull them over from ordering to the records. All right, so let's put main conference just will go working with vendor records. Vendor records. Julia, we just started migrating to Evergreen, so you're super new to the community. Your libraries use a ton of vendor records. That's good to hear, Julia. As I know that's one of the things we like to do at the Evergreen conference too, is people that might either just be in the starting to explore moving to Evergreen or are in the midst of migrating, as it were, to start talking about the kinds of things that are those big unknowns when you go through the migration of the data is one thing, but then when you have to implement new workflows to continue supporting importing all of those tons of vendor records. So it sounds like maybe that this would be a good year to do that. So that is, importing the records and all the things that go along with it. Is we had the suggestion before about record match sets. And that we've had some discussion on the listserv recently about record match sets. So yeah, so this isn't just that, and it's also setting up record imports, batch record imports. And cautionary tales. There's always I guess we could call that tips and tricks instead of cautionary, but I've already typed it now. I'm still thinking about pre-conference. What could we, for an extended period of time, almost any of these we could extend to 2 hours, certainly, but anything that's designed to be more hands-on. If people wanted to follow along with their, if they were logged into a test database and look, a lot of this would lend itself to that. I wonder if there's a specific topic that's really coming up now as those of you that have upgraded, especially if you're looking at 315. If there's anything that's come out of that you think it would be just some good quality time spending in a pre-conference workshop. If not, I'm just going to throw Mark Edit on there again because there's so much we can do with Mark Edit these days. And I'm looking at you, Libby, because there's so much we can do with Mark Edit these days. Libby has done several trainings for us in the last year. The incredible things she does with Mark Edit and shares. All righty. How about I feel like somebody in the community will do bug squashing and how to get involved in bug squashing. So I think that's something that we could do kind of just in our regular meetings to introduce people that may be new to bug squashing as a cataloger. So I'm going to say regular. But I can be talked out of that. if we think that that could be specific enough for a cataloger session during the conference. Meetings. And this would be from starting with how do you even log into Launchpad? We've had several of those throughout the years, but I think it's time to revisit that. How do you log into Launchpad? How do you add heat? How do you search Launchpad? That one's fun. And how you test all of that. Anybody made significant changes to their workflows in the last year or so that caused you to go in and have to rewrite your manuals, or somebody at your library system had to rewrite your documentation beyond what the documentation interest group is doing? I know the Angular screens haven't had a lot of documentation, but I think the BC Co-op started doing a bit of that, which is really nice. All right, we still need a good pre-conference idea. I think those of us that work with them so often, we kind of, I think what we would spend 2 hours on. Stacy, understanding MARC records, basic definitions of fixed fields and settings. Yes, I think that is an excellent idea for really any of these. Just to say, are you suggesting for pre-conference? I mean, that would very much be in the introductory track, but you could certainly spend 2 hours talking about that. And that could be applicable to people that aren't just catalogers. I mean, when they start looking at why things display the way they do, and let's say in indicators, so fixed fields and indicators. Different ways to search, including MARC search. Yes. The MARC search is definitely, I'm going to put that up here under the introductory session, because MARC search is one that I think is often overlooked. And you get an exclamation point for that. We said understanding working with MARC records in Evergreen. Yep. And so then we can show how the fixed fields look and all the tags and the local stuff. And yeah, I really like that one. I'll just make mine all caps too. Yeah, because I think, oh, that's great. Hey. See what else we had done. We talked about vendors. We talked about MARC Edit. Electronic resources, I wonder with how much that's going to change just in the next few years with various different discovery options coming along, or if we're still going to be going through that workflow of loading and then removing items. But anyway, that's me on a tangent at the moment. Well, this is a great list. So if we were going to narrow down introductory sessions, I think we've got it there. I mean, the searching, so let's go back and do searching. I'm going to do this. So searching for ISBN, Catalog define records, adding holdings. There we go. Searching the catalog to find records. We would, for ISBN, we would add holdings. Or, just viewing holdings too. Okay, and then mark search. Adding holdings. We have the ISBN and UPC index as keywords. Oh, that's very nice. Let's do what indexing means and how that affects search options and results. So I think when you say that we have an index, I think we could start with we have this index and you may not, and another library may not have it indexed. And so what does that mean when we say it's indexed? So I like that idea a lot to start talking about this concept of how come when I search in my library, it might not look the same as yours, even though we're using the same version of Evergreen. Yeah, let's talk about indexing. Then we can even talk about item attributes there. I don't know. I think we could probably spend if we're just looking at a 45 to 50 minute, less than an hour session there. Yeah, I think we probably have that just in searching, oddly enough, just searching records and ways to customize how you search records. But I'm going to leave ad holdings on there for now. Mary, can your UPCs be searched regardless of indicator? Kathy says there's only search using the 024.1. Mary says no, I think 024.1 is for us too. Okay. Yeah, let's see. I'm going to add that to our questions, see if there's something that can be done. And when I put things on the questions, I'll go back and do some research. Some stepping notes. So let's talk about that. And that moves that. Okay, I like that idea a lot. So the only thing so pre-conference, so if we do that for our introductory session, just simple searching. And then we've got a pre-conference where we can just spend time on the MARC record in Evergreen, which could really apply for catalogers and really about anybody who needs to understand the MARC record. Julia, I don't know if this is appropriate for any of these discussions. Be very interested in learning how to write macros in OCLC Connection and or other cataloging platforms. I think it's appropriate. So we have the vendor conversations down here that we can bring back. So if we talk about OCLC workflows and practices, I think I put just vendor records discussion there. Yeah, so we can talk about OCLC workflows, best practices. We can even say use of macros. Okay, certainly. I think it's fair. Anything that can be shared that leads to getting a record into the Evergreen system is fair game as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, we could absolutely do that. Certainly. Of course, this means I'm going to come back after this, well, in early January and see who wants to help put together some of these presentations and decide if these are panels or just sharing your work or your workflows. But I don't voluntold anybody, not much anyway. So we'll come back and see how we start putting these together. But I can submit this one. The introductory session, we'll be still planning through the conference planning committee will still be working on this through the end of January. So we do have some time, but I'd love to have this idea in there. The more I look at the working with MARC records, I mean, that really can help people that work a CERT desk, and it would just help them to understand more about what they're seeing. It can help certainly sysadmin, folks, your data administrators, database administrators, anybody that's responsible for supporting the work that you do. Reporting, it helps with reporting to know where this is pulling from too. Okay, yeah, I like that a lot. All right, anything else? Let's see. Who's here? Calling you for Chris's. See, I'm trying to see if anybody is working on anything particular here. We can always do wish list topics too. I mean, maybe we could do that in our regular meetings and then our in conference meeting at the conference meeting. I do like to not lose track of our wish list because that's a great time to talk about wish list when we're all together. Kind of build on some of the excitement and the momentum. There's some really great ones lingering out there that we'd like to promote. Oh, okay. I'm going to continue to make your notes, but I almost forgot. One of the things I really want to do is talk about merch for catalogers going to the conference, or for those of you who can't attend, we'll send it to you in advance. So I want your ideas and I will volunteer to coordinate that. We've got ribbons this year that if you weren't at the last in-person conference, we unveiled for the very first time. They're cataloger ribbons that go on your badges. I'll make sure we have those. So if I'm terrible with coming up with t-shirt ideas, but if you have t-shirt ideas or badges or pin ideas that you are interested in, and if you might want to work with me because I'm not terribly creative, but I love the idea of us having cataloger specific kind of merch that we show off. Not necessarily to sell, it's not a fundraiser, but just to identify us as the fun people we are in the cataloging world. So ideas. I'm just going to put this right here. Otherwise, you get my less than glamorous idea of just a basic t-shirt. So merchandise for conference for catalogers. All right, we're going to have ribbons. Done. That's already done. Spoiler alert. We already had them last year. It's not really a big. All right, so we could do badges, buttons, t-shirts. Now, as you are using your creativity through the rest of this year and into January, you think, gosh, that would be cool. Then, yep, this is what we need. Fun stuff. I don't know what 06 is, Misty. Unless it's like many of us are cats. You're scared. That's fine. Mm-hmm. In fact, I kind of think inside jokes like that might be fun. Just a little badge that says, with just random things. That was my scanner, or that was my cat. All right. Well, I won't continue on this one other than to say if you have ideas at all, please let me know. So any kind of just fun inside things that we can put on buttons. Even on our badges or like okay. Okay. And one year we had actually Galen sponsored the worst bib record contest. So yeah. And I'm trying to remember who won the worst bib record contest. There are some bad ones out there. That should come with some sort of really great award for that. We could bring that back. And you got a few months to start looking around at your worst bib record. Oh, Charles, I bet you do. I absolutely bet you do. And of course, worst is even those tiny little bitty ones that have practically nothing to some just really interesting creative you might see. Yeah, we'll bring back the worst bib record. And that one can certainly be a hybrid contest. Janet's slogan, original cataloging, creating order out of chaos. Ooh, I like that. In fact, we could just say Evergreen catalogers bring order out of chaos. Yep. I think just catalogers in general create order out of chaos. I love them. Yeah. Just say catalogers. Mm. All right. Even or just cataloging. Cataloging. Now, see, this is how I spend too much of my time is wordsmithing little things. Okay. I've planted the seed thinking about these. Um, I missed something on, look, Libby, I missed all of your notes. I'm going to drop those in there. Libby's dropping notes in here about OCLC and Mike. Okay, so that's going to go just under notes so I don't lose them. Thank you, Libby. See, I see Libby has excellent resources. Mhm. And then we have more macros. Libby also has her own set of macros, which are pretty great, but those are mark edit macros. All right. Shout out to Joel and Walt, whom I do not know, but now we do. So all of those are in there, and we will drop those on the wiki. So let me make myself a note. I will do that. Okay. Sorry, I missed all of that while I was typing, getting excited about merchandise over here. Well, we've only got a few minutes left. I won't keep you hanging on just while we do this kind of brainstorming, but I am going to share, I'll clean up a little bit, but share this document with ideas just out to the list when I share out the recording, which will probably be tomorrow. And so we can keep these going. I do very much appreciate you taking the time to help crystallize kind of what we can do for an introductory session and this pre-conference session. I like that idea a lot. Um, and again, I will be looking for anybody that's going to attend the conference and would be interested in helping put together a pre-conference or this introductory session. Just let me know. Again, I'm not going to call you out specifically, and I certainly wouldn't do that in this kind of forum, but certainly let me know if you're interested in that. If you have other ideas, if you have collaborated with any other interest group, Kathy's question there, we could talk about Library of Things cataloging next year. Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm just going to put this over here under regular. Library of Things is certainly a growing topic of interest and means that we could actually lend itself to some wish list items too to make them easier to work with and putting together some templates for them. Great idea, Kathy. Thank you, Catherine. Keep calling you Kathy. I'm sorry. People are short in mind to Jen all the time, and now I'm doing the same thing. My apologies. Okay. And anyway, I was saying as we're wrapping up. So I'll send this back out. And if you're interested in helping put together any of these sessions, please let me know. Otherwise, if any of these you want to pick up, and to finish my original thought there is to, if you are doing this already in your library and you think it would be a good idea to bring to the conference, please submit these. When I send this back out to the listserv, I will put the link on there for you to submit your own suggestions for the call for proposals. So we don't have to do it just to the interest group, of course. Everybody's welcome and encouraged to submit their own ideas for presentations that you might want to give there. I keep track of those so I can bring them back and promote them, of course, because that's what I do. Very proud of everything all of you do, and I love to share it. So yeah, please keep sending those as well. If you just have an idea and you think, gosh, I'm interested in this, but I don't want to present alone, let me know, and then I can combine, I can partner you up with people that might feel the same way. We've had some really great ones through the years that are joint presentations, and I like to see that. It builds a really good kind of energy too. All right. This is an excellent list. I thank you for your time. We'll wrap up just a few minutes early unless there's anything else any of you want to talk about. All right. Well, thank you all again one more time. And I'm going to stop sharing. I was going to think I'm going to stop sharing and come by and say goodbye. There we go. Turn on my camera so I can say goodbye and the happiest of all holidays to you. I wish you good health and happy tidings. We'll see you in January. So good to see you, Janet. Take care and stay warm. Bye, all.
Yeah. It's like 19 degrees here.
Boy, it's 24. I'm going to stop recording. It is 24 here, and I thought